The manila envelope arrived on a Tuesday, slipped under my apartment door like a death sentence wrapped in paper. I almost didn't open it. Bills and final notices had become my daily companions, each one a reminder of how spectacularly my life had collapsed in the past 6 months. But this envelope was different. Expensive paper, my name written in elegant script, Miss Elena Castellano. Inside, a single photograph made my blood run cold. My sister, my beautiful, reckless sister Sophia, bound to a chair in what looked like a warehouse, her eyes wide with terror, a newspaper in her lap showing today's date. The note was brief. Your sister owes Vincente Romano $500,000. She has 3 days, unless you take her place. My hands shook so badly, the photo fluttered to the floor. Sophia. Of course it was Sophia. My younger sister, who'd always lived like tomorrow didn't exist, who'd burned through her inheritance in 2 years, who disappeared 3 weeks ago without explanation. The phone number at the bottom of the note seemed to mock me. I should have called the police, should have done anything except what I did, dialed those numbers with trembling fingers, my heart hammering against my ribs. Miss Castellano. The voice was smooth, cultured, with an Italian accent that made my name sound like a caress. I've been expecting your call. Where is my sister? My voice emerged stronger than I felt. Safe, for now. The question is whether she stays that way. The note said I could take her place. What does that mean? A pause, heavy with implications I didn't want to understand. Vincente Romano is a businessman who believes in settling debts. Your sister borrowed money she couldn't repay, but Vincente is also traditional. He's willing to accept, alternative arrangements. What kind of arrangements? Marriage, Miss Castellano. Your sister for you. A bride for Vincente's son, and Sophia walks free. The world tilted sideways. That's insane. That's business. You have 48 hours to decide. The line went dead. I didn't sleep that night, couldn't eat. Just stared at Sophia's terrified face in the photograph, thinking about how we'd ended up here. Our parents had died 5 years ago in a car accident, leaving Sophia and me with a modest inheritance and each other. I'd been careful, using my portion to finish my architecture degree, building a small but steady freelance business. Sophia had been Sophia. Parties, designer clothes, expensive trips, and apparently debts to dangerous men. By morning, I'd made my decision. The address they'd given me was in the financial district, a sleek high-rise that screamed legitimate business. The top 3 floors belonged to Romano Enterprises, though everyone knew what that really meant. The Romano family controlled half the city's underground economy, their legitimate businesses just a veneer over something much darker. Security escorted me to the penthouse without questions. They'd been expecting me. The office was all glass and steel, modern art on the walls, a view of the city that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. And behind a massive desk sat a man who looked like he stepped out of a magazine spread for dangerous elegance. He couldn't have been more than 30, tall, lean, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my rent. Dark hairs swept back from a face that was almost too perfect. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, full lips that curved into something that was not quite a smile as I entered. But it was his eyes that held me frozen. Gray, like storm clouds, assessing me with an intensity that made me feel stripped bare. Miss Castellano? He rose, moving around the desk with fluid grace. Thank you for coming. I'm Alessandro Romano, but please, call me Alex. I want to see my sister. Direct? I appreciate that. He gestured to a screen on the wall. It flickered to life, showing Sophia in what looked like a comfortable room, not the warehouse from the photo. She was watching TV, looking bored rather than terrified. She's fine. The photo was dramatic effect. My father's idea, not mine. Rage flooded through me. You terrorized me with a fake kidnapping photo? Your sister owes a substantial debt. We needed to ensure you'd take the matter seriously. His expression remained neutral. She's been our guest for 3 weeks. Comfortable, safe, but unable to leave until her debt is settled. By forcing me to marry you? Something flickered in those gray eyes. Not forcing, offering an alternative. Sophia can't pay. You can't pay. But you can solve this problem another way. By selling myself? By accepting a business arrangement that benefits everyone. He moved closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne, cedar and something darker. I need a wife, Miss Castellano. My father insists I marry before my 30th birthday, or control of certain family assets passes to my cousin. That birthday is in 2 months. So find someone who actually wants to marry you. His lips curved into something more genuine. Women in my world come with complications. Families, expectations, alliances that would bind me in ways I don't want. You're perfect. Unconnected to our world, no family obligations beyond your sister, and motivated to make this work. What's in it for me besides Sophia's freedom? Financial security. A generous settlement when we divorce after 1 year. Your sister's debts forgiven and her future protected. He pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. The terms are outlined here. 1 year of marriage, public appearances as needed, separate living quarters. After 12 months, a quiet divorce, and you walk away with $5 million. The number made my head spin. 5 million. Enough to never worry about money again, enough to start over, anywhere I wanted. Why me? The question escaped before I could stop it. You could hire someone, an actress, a model, someone who'd play the part better. Alessandro studied me with unsettling focus. Because when I investigated your sister's background, I found you. A woman who put herself through school, who built a business from nothing, who has spent the last 5 years taking care of someone who clearly doesn't appreciate it. He paused. You're real, Elena, not manufactured. That's exactly what I need. And if I refuse? His expression hardened. Then your sister's debt comes due, and my father's methods of collection are unpleasant. The threat hung between us, polite but absolute. I need to think about it. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer expires. I spent that night researching Alessandro Romano. What I found didn't comfort me. He'd taken over the family business at 25 after his father stepped back from day-to-day operations. In 5 years, he'd expanded their legitimate holdings, real estate, restaurants, import-export, while allegedly maintaining their less legal enterprises. No arrests, no charges that ever stuck, but rumors of ruthlessness that made men twice his age wary. There were photos of him at charity galas, always with a different woman on his arm, never the same one twice. Beautiful, elegant women who lasted a few weeks before disappearing from his life without drama or scandal. And there was one other detail that caught my attention. His mother had died when he was 10. Cancer. His father had never remarried, raising Alessandro alone in a world of violence and power. At dawn, I made my second call in 2 days. I'll do it, but I want to see Sophia first, and I want the terms in writing reviewed by a lawyer of my choosing. Agreed. My driver will collect you at 9. Alessandro's voice held satisfaction. Welcome to the family, Elena. The wedding happened 3 days later in a private chapel that probably violated a dozen laws by existing in Romano territory. Just immediate family. Alessandro's father, Vincente, an older man with cold eyes who studied me like I was livestock he'd purchased. Sophia, looking guilty and relieved, and a handful of Alessandro's associates, men in expensive suits with hard faces. I wore a dress that had appeared in my apartment with a note, "Wear this, A." It was beautiful, ivory silk that fit perfectly as if someone had known my exact measurements. Probably they had. These people seemed to know everything. Alessandro waited at the altar in a black suit, his expression unreadable as I walked toward him. No music, no flowers beyond a simple bouquet someone thrust into my hands. This wasn't a celebration, it was a transaction. The priest spoke in rapid Italian. I caught maybe one word in 3. When it came time for vows, Alessandro spoke his in English, his gray eyes locked on mine. I, Alessandro Romano, take you, Elena Castellano, as my wife. I promise to provide for you, protect you, and honor the terms of our agreement. Clinical, businesslike, exactly what this was. I, Elena Castellano, take you, Alessandro Romano, as my husband. The words tasted like ash. I promise to fulfill my obligations, maintain appearances, and honor our agreement. He slid a ring onto my finger, a platinum band with a single diamond that probably cost more than my car. When I slipped his ring on, I noticed his hands were steady, while mine trembled. You may kiss the bride. Alessandro's hand cupped my jaw, his touch surprisingly gentle. The kiss was brief, chaste, nothing like the possessive claiming I'd half expected. Just a soft press of lips that somehow felt more intimate than it should have. When he pulled back, something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. Then it was over. Signed documents, murmured congratulations from people who didn't care, Sophia hugging me with tears streaming down her face as she whispered apologies I couldn't quite accept yet. Ready? He offered his arm. For what? To go home. The way he said it sent shivers down my spine. Not to my apartment, not to some temporary arrangement. Home. His home, where I'd spend the next year pretending to be his wife. The car took us out of the city, into hills where old money lived behind gates and walls. The Romano estate sprawled across what must have been 20 acres. A villa that looked like it had been transplanted from Tuscany, all stone and terracotta, an architectural beauty that made my professional eye appreciate as my stomach churned with nerves. Your wing is on the east side, Alessandro said as we entered. Staff appeared and disappeared like ghosts, taking luggage, offering refreshments. Your private bedroom, bathroom, sitting room, everything you need. My wing is on the west. We only need to interact for public appearances. How often? Twice a week, generally. Dinners with business associates, charity events, the occasional family gathering. He paused at a grand staircase. My father will expect us to perform convincingly. He can't know this is an arrangement. What about my staff? They'll know we don't share a room. They're paid very well to be discreet. Something in his tone suggested that wasn't a request. Come, I'll show you to your quarters. The east wing was a revelation, a suite larger than my entire apartment had been. Bedroom, with a king bed draped in silk. Sitting room with French doors opening to a private terrace. A bathroom that looked like a spa. And a closet that had been stocked with clothes in my size, everything from casual wear to formal gowns. How did you know my size? I make it my business to know things. He moved to the terrace doors, hands in his pockets. You'll find everything you need. If something's missing, tell Maria. She's assigned to you. Like a handler. His lips quirked. Like an assistant. Elena, I know this isn't what you wanted, but I'll keep my word. 1 year and you walk away with more money than most people see in a lifetime. All I ask is that you play your part convincingly when needed. And what part is that exactly? He turned, his gray eyes intense. A woman who chose to marry me, who was happy, content, possibly even falling in love. He moved closer. Can you do that? Pretend you want to be here? Pride made me lift my chin. I'm better at pretending than you think. Good. Because starting tomorrow we're attending a gala. All of my father's associates will be there, watching, judging, looking for any sign of weakness. I won't embarrass you. I'm not worried about embarrassment, I'm worried about your safety. His expression grew serious. My world has rules, Elena, and the most important one is this. As my wife, you're untouchable. No one dares harm what belongs to me. But they need to believe you truly are mine. I'm not a possession. In my world, you are. Before I could protest, he continued, I didn't make these rules. I just enforce them. And right now, those rules are what keep you and Sophia safe. He left me alone in my gilded cage, and I sank onto the bed, overwhelmed. 1 year, 365 days of pretending to love a man I barely knew, of living in luxury built on foundations I didn't want to examine too closely. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. Thank you. I don't deserve you. No, she didn't. But she was my sister, the only family I had left. The gala was exactly as intimidating as I'd feared. Maria had styled me in a deep emerald gown that clung in all the right places. My hair was swept up, my makeup perfect, diamonds borrowed from what Alessandro casually referred to as the family vault, glittering at my throat and ears. I looked like I belonged. Inside, I was terrified. Alessandro appeared at my door at precisely 7, devastating in a tuxedo that had definitely been tailored for him. His eyes darkened as he took me in. Beautiful, he murmured. They won't be able to look away. That's the goal, right? Distraction? Bardley. He offered his arm. Ready to meet the wolves? The ballroom was filled with Chicago's elite, both legitimate and otherwise. I recognized faces from newspapers, from gossip columns, wealthy businessmen with trophy wives, politicians who'd clearly made compromises, and scattered throughout men with hard eyes and expensive suits who radiated danger. Alessandro's hand never left the small of my back, possessive and guiding. He introduced me to dozens of people, and I smiled until my face ached, playing the happy newlywed. Alessandro! A booming voice made us both turn. A man in his 50s approached, all charm and predatory smile. You've been holding out on us. When did you marry this beauty? Last week, Marco. Alessandro's grip on my waist tightened fractionally. Elena, this is Marco Santini, old family friend. The way he said friend suggested otherwise. Marco's eyes traveled over me in a way that made my skin crawl. Castellano. Any relation to Antonio Castellano? My blood ran cold. My father. Did you know him? We had business dealings years ago. His smile turned sharp. Tragic what happened to him and your mother. That accident. Yes, tragic. I forced the word out. Alessandro's thumb traced circles on my hip, a gesture that might have looked affectionate but felt like a warning to be careful. We should circulate, Kara. So many people want to meet you. He steered me away, but I felt Marco's eyes following us across the room. What did he mean about business dealings? I whispered once we were out of earshot. Nothing important. Marco likes to pretend he knows more than he does. But something in Alessandro's tone suggested he was lying. The evening dragged on. More introductions, more performance. Alessandro was the perfect attentive husband, his hand always touching me somewhere, his attention focused on me even while he conducted quiet business in corners. To anyone watching, we were newlyweds, deeply in love. Around midnight, we finally escaped to the car. The moment the door closed, Alessandro pulled away, putting distance between us on the back seat. You did well tonight. Marco Santini knew my father. Marco knows everyone. It's his survival strategy. Alessandro, I turned to face him fully. What was my father involved in? His jaw tightened. Elena, I deserve to know. If I'm part of your world now, if Sophia's debt had anything to do with our family history, I deserve the truth. He studied me for a long moment, something warring behind his gray eyes. Finally, he sighed. Your father ran a construction company that did work for various families, including mine. He was legitimate, but he knew who he was building for. When you were 12, he tried to pull out, wanted to go completely clean. Horror crept up my spine. The accident? He stated it fast. Was investigated as an accident. No proof otherwise. His voice was carefully neutral, but there were rumors, questions that were never answered. I pressed my hand to my mouth, fighting nausea. My parents were murdered because my father wanted to go legitimate? I don't know. I was 18 when it happened, not involved in family business yet. By the time I took over, the trail was cold. He reached out, his hand covering mine. Elena, I'm sorry. I should have told you before. Before you forced me to marry you? Yes, you should have. I didn't force. You gave me no choice. You held my sister hostage and offered marriage as the only way to save her. That's not a choice, Alessandro. That's coercion. You're right. His admission surprised me. You're absolutely right. I told myself it was just business, that everyone benefited, but you're right. Silence filled the car. Finally, I spoke. 1 year, then I'm gone. 1 year, he agreed quietly. But something in his eyes suggested he didn't quite believe it. The following weeks established a routine. I spent my days in my wing, working on architecture projects remotely, avoiding Alessandro except when required. Twice a week, we dress up and play perfect couple for whatever audience his obligations demanded. And slowly, despite my best intentions, I began to see past the dangerous exterior. Like the afternoon I found him in the garden, sitting on a bench staring at nothing, his expression so devastated I almost didn't recognize him. When I asked what was wrong, he showed me a photo on his phone, a woman with kind eyes holding a young boy. My mother, he said quietly. She died 20 years ago today. I sat beside him, not touching, just present. He started talking about her love of roses, how she'd read to him every night, how her death had hollowed out something in his father that had never healed. He became harder after, built walls so high nothing could touch him. Alessandro's voice was rough. I swore I'd never be like that. But look at me. He gestured at the mansion, at the life he'd built. I'm exactly like him. You're not, I said softly. He forced me to marry you through threats. You're at least honest about what this is. Is that supposed to be comforting? It's supposed to be true. He looked at me then, really looked, and something shifted between us. Something dangerous. After that, our interactions changed. He'd seek me out for coffee in the mornings, asking about my work. I'd find him in his study late at night, and we'd talk about everything and nothing. He showed me the books he loved, mostly philosophy and history. I showed him my architecture designs, and he offered surprisingly insightful feedback. You're wasted on small projects, he said once, studying my portfolio. These are brilliant. You should be designing major buildings. Hard to get those commissions without connections. You have connections now. He pulled out his phone. I'm investing in a new development downtown, mixed use, residential and commercial. I want you to design it. Alessandro, I can't. Why not? You're talented. You deserve the opportunity. His gray eyes held mine. Let me give you this, not as your husband, as someone who recognizes your worth. I took the commission, and working on it, creating something meaningful, I felt more like myself than I had in months. 3 months into our marriage, everything changed. We were at another gala performing our usual routine. Alessandro had just introduced me to a business associate when I saw her. A woman in her 60s, elegant in black, staring at me with an expression of shock so profound it made me freeze. She approached with halting steps, her hand rising to her mouth. When she spoke, her voice shook. Antonio, no, you're not. You're Elena. You have to be. You look exactly like your father. I'm sorry, do I know you? I'm Francesca Romano, Alessandro's aunt. She turned to my husband, who'd gone very still beside me. Does she know? Know what? I looked between them. Alessandro, what don't I know? His jaw clenched. Not here. We'll discuss this at home. We'll discuss it now, I said firmly. What don't I know? Francesca's eyes filled with tears. Your father and I were engaged 28 years ago, before he met your mother, before... She stopped, glancing at Alessandro. Horror crept through me. Before what? Alessandro, the hand gripped my elbow. Elena, please, let's go home and I'll explain. But I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. You knew. You knew there was a connection between our families and you didn't tell me? It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. Tell me right now why you really married me, Alessandro. Because it clearly wasn't just about needing a convenient wife. His face was a mask, revealing nothing. We're leaving. Now. He practically dragged me to the car, his grip gentle but unyielding. The moment we were inside, I rounded on him. Talk now. He ran a hand through his hair, destroying its careful styling. Your father was engaged to my aunt. They were in love. But then my grandfather, Vicente's father, decided Antonio wasn't suitable. Wrong background, wrong connections. He was forbidden from seeing Francesca. So my father moved on? Met my mother? Not exactly. My grandfather sent men to convince Antonio to disappear. They beat him badly enough that he spent 2 weeks in the hospital. When he got out, Francesca had already been married off to another family associate. Antonio left the city, started over, eventually met my mother. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. And when you investigated Sophia, you found this connection. That's why you chose me. Partly, but also because you're brilliant and strong and exactly what I needed. The connection to your father was complicated. I thought if I could protect you, give you the life he'd wanted. You thought you could atone for your family's sins? I laughed bitterly. You're not your redemption project, Alessandro. You're my wife. In name only, as you keep reminding me. I reached for the door handle. I need space. Don't follow me. I spent that night in a guest room on the far side of the villa, ignoring Alessandro's quiet knocks, his murmured apologies through the door. By morning, I'd made a decision. I found him in his study, looking like he hadn't slept. I want to see the files. Everything you have about my father, about what happened to my parents. Elena. Everything. Or this marriage ends now. Consequences be damned. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. All right, but you won't like what you find. He was right. I didn't. The files painted a picture of my father I'd never known, a man who had been deeply involved with the Romano family, building their properties, laundering money through construction projects, who'd tried to extract himself when my mother got pregnant with Sophia, wanting to give his daughters a clean life. And the accident report, full of inconsistencies that had never been properly investigated, witnesses who'd disappeared, evidence that had been lost. Your grandfather ordered it, I said flatly, staring at documents that suggested exactly that. I can't prove it. He's dead now, 5 years. But yes, I believe he was involved. Alessandro's voice was rough. Elena, I'm so sorry. If I could change the past? But you can't. I set down the files, any more than I can. But I need to know, is that why you chose me? Guilt? Some twisted need to make amends? He moved around the desk, stopping close enough that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the genuine anguish. At first, maybe. When I saw your name, your face, it felt like fate giving me a chance to protect you where my family had failed to protect your father. But Elena, I didn't expect to care about you, to look forward to our morning coffee, to find excuses to be near you, to wake up at night knowing you're just down the hall and wanting you in a way that has nothing to do with guilt or obligation. My heart hammered. Alessandro, I know you don't feel the same. How could you? I forced this marriage, kept secrets. My family destroyed yours. He stepped back. When the year is up, I'll honor our agreement. You'll get your money, your freedom. But know that letting you go will be the hardest thing I've ever done. I should have been angry, should have demanded immediate freedom. Instead, I found myself asking, what if I don't want to go? His eyes widened. What? I'm not saying I forgive you. I'm not even saying I understand all of this. I gestured at the files. But these past months, you've shown me parts of yourself I don't think you show anyone. And I've felt more alive, more myself, than I have in years. Elena, you don't owe me anything. I'm not offering out of obligation. I'm terrified of what I'm feeling, of how much I've started to care about you despite everything. But I want to try, really try, not as an obligation or arrangement, but as... He kissed me before I could finish, not the chaste press of lips from our wedding, but something deep and hungry and real. His hands framed my face, gentle despite the desperation in the kiss, and I melted into him, months of tension finally breaking. When we pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I don't deserve you. Probably not. I managed a shaky laugh. But maybe we deserve a chance to figure this out. What about the past? Your parents? The past is done. I can't change it. But maybe I can build something new from the ruins. I met his eyes. With you. If you want that. If I want... He laughed, the sound almost broken. Elena, I've wanted you since the moment you walked into my office with fire in your eyes, refusing to be intimidated. I've wanted you every second of these 3 months. But I thought... You thought I'd always hate you. And I tried to. I touched his face, feeling the stubble on his jaw. But you made it really hard when you kept being decent and kind and surprisingly gentle. I'm not gentle. With me, you are. I kissed him softly. So maybe we start over, really get to know each other, see if this thing between us is real or just... It's real. His voice was fierce. For me, it's very real. Then we have 9 months to figure out if it's real for me too. Over the following months, our marriage transformed into something I'd never expected, a partnership built on honesty, respect, and slowly deepening love. Alessandro showed me his world, not the violence, but the complexity, the businesses he was legitimizing, his plans to move the family completely legal within 5 years, the foundation his mother had started that he still ran, helping families caught in poverty. I showed him mine, the dreams I'd had for my architecture career, the projects I wanted to build. He gave me opportunities I'd never have had otherwise. But he also pushed me to be better, to reach higher. And slowly, my suite in the East Wing became less my home, and his rooms in the West became more our shared space. Until one night, 6 months into our marriage, I simply didn't leave. "Stay," he murmured, his arms around me in his bed. "Please stay." "I'm not going anywhere." I pressed a kiss to his chest. "I think I love you, Alessandro Romano. Stupidly, impossibly, despite everything." His arms tightened. "You think?" I'm terrified to say it definitely. What if this is just... It's not. He tilted my face up. "I love you, Elena. Completely, irrevocably. You've become the best part of my life. Even though you yell at me about your overprotective security, even though," he smiled, "especially because you're the only one who calls me out on my bullshit." I laughed, but then grew serious. "What happens when the year is up? The divorce?" "There won't be a divorce." His voice was firm. "Unless you want one. But, Elena, I'm asking you, really asking this time, no coercion, no threats. Will you stay married to me? Will you let this be real?" I pretended to think about it, just to watch him squirm. 1 year of freedom and $5 million, or a lifetime with an overprotective Italian who thinks security teams are a reasonable anniversary gift. "I bought you that architecture software too." I kissed him quiet. "Yes, you ridiculous man. I'll stay. Not for the money or the mansion or even the incredibly talented interior designer you hired for my office. I'll stay because somehow, impossibly, you've become my home." He rolled us over, his body covering mine, his eyes bright with emotion. "Say it again." "The other part." "That you're ridiculous?" "Elena!" Warning in his voice, but playfulness in his eyes. "Fine. I love you, Alessandro Romano. Happy?" "Extremely, and I'm never letting you go." 1 year after our forced wedding, we stood in that same chapel. But this time, Sophia stood as my maid of honor, genuinely sober and rebuilding her life. Francesca was there, having become one of my closest friends, and Alessandro's father, Vicente, who initially opposed the marriage, now watched with something almost like approval. "You already married me," Alessandro reminded me, amused as the priest began the ceremony again. "Yes, but that was a business transaction. This is a choice." I squeezed his hand. "Our choice." We spoke new vows, not about obligations and agreements, but about love and partnership and building a future together. When Alessandro slid a new ring onto my finger, an emerald this time, my favorite, his hands trembled slightly.
I, Alessandro, take you, Elena, as my wife, not because I need one, but because I choose you. Every day for the rest of my life, I choose you. I, Elena, take you, Alessandro, as my husband, because you've shown me that love can grow in the strangest places, that sometimes the worst circumstances lead to the best outcomes, and because I choose you too, every day, forever. The kiss was nothing like our first wedding. This was claiming, promising, celebrating something real and hard-won and beautiful. As we walked back down the aisle, Alessandro leaned close. Any regrets? I thought about the manila envelope that had arrived a year ago, about the fear and anger and forced vows, about all the terrible circumstances that had brought us together. Not a single one. I smiled up at him. Best business deal I ever made. He laughed, pulling me close. Wait until you see the anniversary gift I got you. Please tell me it's not more security. It's the deed to a building downtown, perfect for your firm's headquarters. I stopped walking. You bought me a building? You're designing half the city now. You need proper office space. His eyes were bright. Plus, I may have spread the word that anyone who wants to work with Romano Enterprises should consider hiring you. Is that overstepping? Completely. I kissed him. And perfect. You're perfect, even when you're impossible. Sophia caught up to us, her eyes bright. I hate to break up this adorable moment, but there's a reception to get to. And Elena, I have something for you. She handed me an envelope. Inside, a check for $100,000. It's not everything I cost you, but it's a start. I've been working, saving, and I'm sorry for everything. I hugged her tightly. I forgive you, but Sophia... I know, no more gambling. I'm in therapy, actually dealing with my problems instead of running from them. She glanced at Alessandro. Turns out having a brother-in-law who scares the shit out of me is good motivation to stay clean. I'm not that scary. We both looked at him. He sighed. Fine, maybe a little scary, but only to people who deserve it. The reception was nothing like our first wedding. This was celebration, joy, family, and friends who genuinely cared. I danced with Alessandro under stars, his arms around me, and felt complete in a way I'd never imagined possible. "What are you thinking?" he murmured against my hair. That a year ago I would have done anything to escape this life. And now I can't imagine wanting to be anywhere else. No regrets about the $5 million you gave up by staying? I pulled back to look at him. You know what? Keep it. Consider it a wedding gift. Invest it in more legitimacy projects. Help more families. Build the empire your mother would be proud of. His eyes widened. Elena! I don't need your money, Alessandro. I have my own career now, thanks to you. What I need is you. Just you. He kissed me softly, thoroughly, not caring who was watching. When we finally broke apart, he was smiling in a way that lit up his entire face. What? I asked. I'm just thinking about how spectacularly wrong I was. About thinking this could ever be just business. Thinking I could keep my distance. Thinking I could let you go after a year. You wrecked every plan I had, Elena Romano. Good, because you wrecked mine too, and I wouldn't change a single thing. Under the stars, surrounded by people who'd become family, in the arms of a man I once feared but now loved more than I thought possible, I finally understood. Sometimes the worst beginning leads to the most beautiful ending. Sometimes the person who forces your hand becomes the one who holds your heart. Sometimes arranged marriages become love stories. And sometimes the forgotten bride becomes the one thing that can never be forgotten, the woman who changed everything. The end.